allow me to introduce our knowledgeable panel of speakers. We have Lisa Varga, the head of growth at Upskill Digital, coming to us all the way from the UK. We have a different continent today. Lisa is from a training organization called Upskill Digital, a company on a mission to empower all people to succeed through technology. Lisa gets to work with large and small organizations alike to shift the dial on diversity and inclusion and work towards closing the ever-growing digital skills gap. And growth is at the heart of what she does. She is dedicated to ensuring that communities maximize their opportunities and truly thrive in this digital age. Lisa, you may turn on your video. You are so welcome. It is such an honor to have you in the room. And then we have Dr. Stella Bvuma coming to us from South Africa, our very own. Dr. Stella Bvuma is the HOD in the Department of Applied Information Systems within the School of Consumer Intelligence and Information Systems at the University of Johannesburg. She holds several qualifications in the field of information technology and attained her PhD in information technology management. Wow. She has a driven, robust passion in the area of ICT for development and technology adoption. Dr. Bvuma serves on various boards, including the CEDA as a non-executive director. Dr. Bvuma, you are so welcome. It is an honor to have you. You may also turn on your video. How are you guys doing? You may turn on your mics as well.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi.
Good morning. Are you
Lisa?
able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello,
so,
can you hear me?
Sorry, we're all talking at once.
Yeah.
I hope you're all well. We're about to go to the panel discussion right now. So according to the PwC, digitization, the mass adoption of connected digital services by consumers, enterprises, and governments has emerged in recent years as a key economic driver that accelerates growth and facilitates job creation. In the current environment of a sluggish global economy, digitization can play an important role in assigning policymakers to spur economic growth and employment. So 72% of small businesses are accelerating digitization because of COVID-19. And the need to operate a remote workforce or better engage with customers. Only 24% of small businesses are in the most advanced stages of digital transformation. A mere 4% of small businesses are in a digital native stage. Around 26% of small businesses have made little or no effort to accelerate digital transformation. And this is from a recent report by Cisco. So first of all, before we dive into all of it, why digital transformation? Why do small businesses need to transition to the digital stage? We can begin with you, Lisa.
Thanks so much, and again, thanks for having me. Please excuse my voice a little bit. I've got a bit of a raspy voice, so hopefully you can all hear me. And just to caveat, I am dialing in from London today. However, I am a South African born and bred. I moved over to the UK about 3 years ago. Definitely excited to be here, and I can see quite a few South African names on the board. So thank you so much for having me. To answer your question, at least from my point of view, having sort of dealt with lots and lots of different businesses, sort of small and big alike, digital transformation sounds like a really big and scary word. I know we all sort of like think of digital and it sometimes can feel unattainable, but the short answer is digital is all around us. I know we all hear the buzzword, we're living in the digital age, but it's completely true. So everything that we engage with, and I think COVID-19 has shown us that, is digital, whether it's sort of picking up the phone to WhatsApp your mum, or sort of getting online, or trying to see sort of what restaurants are open. Everything that we do or we're engaging on digital platforms. And so it's essential for small businesses to be able to be online in order to access customers. And again, it's not as scary as it sounds. You don't all have to be technologists in order to engage with technologies. as we've seen, we do it on a regular basis. So I think for me, digital transformation is important to access new customers in order to sort of maximize the spend that your current customers have with you, in order to sort of get out there and access service providers, potentially sort of grow out your networks. It's a really powerful tool to sort of use to scale and grow your businesses across multiple levels, whether that's sort of sales or marketing, whether that's actually your operations or accessing finance. So it's really become a big part of the way that we do business, and it's become a part of our everyday life.
Oh, so it's actually a great way to compete with your competitors. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, competing with competitors, yes, definitely. I think if you think about it, and I guess it's trying to get into the mind of your consumers. If you are a restaurant or you are a shop, your customers are more and more curious, and they're very savvy. Most people have a smartphone and will pick up their smartphone, open up Google Maps or Facebook, and browse through what they're looking for before they actually sort of leave the house, especially sort of with all the different lockdowns. People want to see if the shops are open, what they've got on offer, and kind of engage with businesses before they've even kind of left the house. So in order to sort of even be seen, you need to have that online presence. You need to be competing in the space. You need to be sort of accessible on Google Maps or Facebook, so that your customers can find you, can know you're open, and even get a sort of sneak peek into what you're offering.
Okay, I get it. I love that. Dr. Stella, what's your take on that? Why do small businesses need to transition to the digital space?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I hope you can hear me. I'm somewhere in the mountains, in Belabela and Limpopo, and greetings to you and to the panelists and everybody who's listening today. So if you hear the lions screaming, trust me, it's not me, it's where I am. I'm also going to be presenting in the next 45 minutes for the Ayati International Vehicle Theft. But nonetheless, coming back to your question of what is digital transformation, I think perhaps for me to respond to that question, we need to emphasize that what is this thing of digital transformation? What are we talking about when we talk about digital transformation? I'm just trying to move away from the lions while I'm here, because things are falling apart here. But nonetheless, it basically means the integration of technology into all areas of business. In other words, all the technologies that you are having, be it a mobile device, your WhatsApp app, from hardware to software, you're integrating all of that. And fundamentally, what you want to do is, how do you then operate to make sure that you deliver value to your customers? So as a small business owner, it's about how do I then deliver value to the customers? It is also about the culture of change. I almost do training for township and rural SMME, so you can just imagine that infrastructure issues and cost and so forth. But the cultural change for me, it's core, because it requires you as a business owner to continuously challenge your status quo, to say, how do I then experiment with these technologies around me, and how do I then also accept failure and get comfortable with failure? Because we must say it, like larger enterprises, they also experience the challenges of digital transformation, or rather a digital strategy. But perhaps let me also touch on this. For some businesses, it could simply mean that you are automating your business operations. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are having this technology that you are using to offer a service, but your operations within your own businesses. Let's say a salon in the township or hair salon, you now want to say, how do I order my stock through the suppliers using the technologies? Or for some, it could be, about employees simply moving away from the new normal, or either from the normal to the new normal. So I think digital transformation is wrapped around a whole lot of innovation, or ICTs, or like my Vice Chancellor will call them, the fourth industrial revolutions. So you're talking about applications or any technology that is seen as the enabler of the business. So When we do digital transformation, or I like to simplify them by say technology training for SMMEs on digitization, you're looking at technologies that will enable your business. Remember, technology is not the boffin, it's not the key. Even though we need technology, but technology is to enable your business. So any technology that's just coming to sit there and not to enable your business, that's totally not what we want. When you talk to SMMEs, you know that they're talking issues of access to market. How do I access the market? How do we then say, what is the technologies that we need to use for you to operate on the e-commerce platform and so forth? So digital transformation might take a little bit of a deep technology, such as your fourth industrial revolution, your Internet of Things, etc. While for others, you might picture, bringing agility in your organization. And I like the likes of the banking sector, when they talk about agility, bringing agile into their environment. But for others, it's simply having a smartphone, to say, how do then I access, online platforms so that I can enable my business? But let's not get it wrong. Technology is there to enable. Digital transformation it's there to enable. We don't just have it for the must-haves, because I know for SMMEs, which are the heart, at my heart, it's about growth and sustainability, and also to access the market. Thank you very much. I hope I did justice to the question. Thanks.
You definitely did. Thank you so much for that. So Lisa, let's talk about digital skills. What are some of the skill sets and digital tools that are available to small businesses and startup entrepreneurs?
So that's a great question. And I think, as I touched on, sometimes the most scary part is actually starting. There are some amazing programs available that are actually for free. Whether that's kind of webinar based, or whether you sort of join a webinar and kind of learn as you go from a subject matter expert, or whether you can actually take the courses online at your own pace. So Google Digital Skills for Africa is a great one. So Digital Skills for Africa is a really fantastic way to get involved there. They do both sort of the online courses and the free learning. There are also sort of, if you just literally type into Google free digital skills courses, you'll see sort of a wealth of them. Standard Bank actually do a Microsoft digital literacy course as well. So there is a lot available. I think then what becomes the challenge is sifting through what you actually need. So again, as my sort of co-panelist mentioned, there are lots of different reasons why you would want to access digital skills. One of them is obviously to sort of grow out that supplier base, trying to access your suppliers and get the supplies you need. So that's sort of just around connecting. I think the digital skills that you'll find online are more around things like, have you got a social media presence, right? Can your customers find you online? So whether that's an Instagram page or a Facebook page. So there you want to really look at sort of social media and marketing. Digital marketing is the other one, and there are lots of free courses around how you can get a Google business profile, for instance. So a Google business profile, one will give you a free website, and there's lots of templates, but I think more importantly, it's how you appear on Google Maps. So if somebody's searching for you on Google Maps, if you have a Google business profile, you'll automatically appear, kind of puts you ahead of the race anyway. And you can start to sort of look at digital marketing there. So Google advertising and that kind of thing. I'm not sure if you've all seen, if you type in something at sort of on Google, your first two banners appear as ads. So you can actually pay to appear higher up in Google search ranking. And there's lots of courses available for that around sort of digital marketing. And then obviously all of your other digital skills. So trying to access banking and trying to sort of make sure that you are accessing sort of small loans. And again, Standard Bank are a great one for sort of giving you free learnings there. So hopefully that answered the question. Was there anything else that you wanted sort of me to cover within that question?
No, I believe everything was covered in there. So basically there are a lot of skills. So those who are interested in learning more about those can just head over to the Upskill Digital website and just check out what is available on their website. So thank you so much, Lisa. I believe that covered my question. And then we have Dr. Stella. Back to you, Dr. Stella. So due to the COVID-19 related lockdowns and job losses, consumer spending could be described as going from bad to worse. So how can businesses use digital transformation strategy to understand consumer spending patterns?
Beautiful. I think that's a very good question. I hope I'm well positioned here. You know, for women, how we appear is very important because, like I said, I'm trying to find myself a spot here. But nonetheless, I'm talking to small businesses. Hopefully, they understand the flexibility of how you operate. Yeah, but I think for me, again, it's going back to the question of defining the digital transformation. And I always don't want to overwhelm the SMMEs in terms of how do we define digital transformation. But in the context of consumers, it simply is about changing the way you as a business owner or your business interacts with your customers, and how you then provide your customers with consistent experience whenever and wherever they need it to be. Assuming that I'm a product today and I need to be all over, you need to kind of have that technology that allows you to do that. If you look at, I don't want to bore you with the technical or the statistical analysis, but it's important that we look at the data and we share that with our business owners. It is no wonder that if you look at the Gartner, they see the digital transformation as among the top 3 priorities for enterprises, whether it's large or it's small. And their spending, it's reflecting that, in their priority. In 2019, IDC projected that spending on digital transformation, you would look at about 1.8 trillion by the end of 2019. I mean, if we take an example of what we call targeted advertising, like my fellow panelist has beautifully explained it there, and particularly on brand item. And I almost call them spying on me, because I like to take a lot online purchases. So you probably have experienced shopping online for kitchenware or for a clothing item. And all of a sudden, all these items that you've shopped on one particular app, they are kind of popping up everywhere. It's like the internet is following me, whether I go to Bela where I am now, whether you go to the UK, it will pop up, to say, here's a new fragrance because you bought that, or here's the new kitchen set, based on what you've purchased. So it's called targeted advertising, but it feels more like a digital stalking because they are literally stalking you online. And that talks about, how do you then make sure that your customers don't escape? How do you capture them using the technology? Now, if you look at these tracking technologies, I call them tracking technology because they become more sophisticated. Brands can access consumers' data to personalize their advertising, and you're able to also personalize, your customer experience or either your purchasing habits. And the targeted ads proactively will create, what you need to kind of inform you on how do you package this product. It's like you move into the click store, and I don't know why I'm picking on them, but that when you walk in there, I'll find the cosmetics on the left, I'll find maybe the other products on the right. So you want to do that for your customers. Stella, when she comes online, this is what she will do. She'll walk to the left, and this is what she's going to do when she walks to the left. So you want technology that will really simplify the relationship with your customers. But to simply answer your question, on how digital transformation can help business understand in many ways, than one is it can also assist in retaining your customers. I don't want to walk into a saloon and the next thing my hairdresser forgot about my name. I prefer them to know about my kids, that listen, you need to finish because I have to pick up my kids. So all of that, if you have thousands or millions of customers, it will be difficult for you to use, your human brains to remember that. And I think simply put is, as a business owner, you need to understand that your customers drive or dictate your digital strategy, if I may put it like that. So they will actually tell you what to do. Like when we were in lockdown, literally, we had to think of how do we then, reach out to our customers. So your customers expect relevant content in relation to what they are doing anytime, anywhere, and in the format that it's also understandable for their devices, whether it's a laptop, it's a smartphone or a tablet. So the net digital transformation, if you look at it, the global net, according to the IDC data, it tells us that in 2018, it was approximately at $1 trillion. That's huge. This number is actually expected to grow to more than 2 trillion by 2022. In fact, over 70% of companies have admitted that COVID-19 has actually pressed them to increase their budget on digital transformation. So I know for me personally, as just sitting at home, I literally had to buy devices because my kids are not allowed to have watch TV or devices during the week, but I had to do it. I didn't have a choice because, the demands were saying you need to have a device. So as a small business owner, you also need to be, acquainted with this technology and don't exclude yourself. As IT experts, we always like to bombard you with IT terminologies, kind of because we like to really sound smart, and give you the cloud computing, the Internet of Things, the machine learnings, but don't be confused. All you have to say is, what is the technology that I need to enable my business to talk to my customers and also to retain my customers? So don't be bombarded. The idea is the digital strategy must match with your business strategy. So both must talk to one another. And the other one does not inform the other one. In actual fact, it's the business that actually must tell me as an IT expert to say, what is the technology that I need to enable me to drive my strategy, to sell my soup, or either to run my construction company? It's not me telling you you need 1, 2, 3. You might not necessarily need, cloud computing. And my uncle in the village tells me, listen, buddy, I'm a farmer. I need a tracker. Don't tell me about the technologies. I need a tracker to do proper farming. And then we can start talking about the other technologies. So you really need to understand where you are and what are the technologies that will enable your business. You don't have to know them by heart, but you can just simply say, listen, for me to really understand or know my customers as they walk into my salon, what technology can I use to actually remind me who Stella is, how many kids she's got when she walks in, what kind of hairstyle does she normally do, Simply that.
I love that.
It brings and you can see that I'm very I'm very passionate about this topic.
You're very passionate about this one. I love it though. I love it because some people actually just take whatever channel they can get their hands on, in the sake of I'm digital. Okay, this is a tool for me, so I can use it. Some of them don't actually take into account the goals that they have and the kind of customers that they're dealing with. So I love that.
Absolutely.
Let's welcome Mr. Agboola, Ayodeji Agboola. Mr. Ayodeji is coming to us from Nigeria. He is a certified digital marketing professional and an internet entrepreneur. Mr. Ayodeji, you are welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're ready.
Yes,
I hope you're ready for us to pick your brain.
Oh, sure. I've just been listening in the background, and a very interesting conversation going on. Thank you so much.
Yes, so we're talking digital transformation, and this is something that we've actually talked about time and again. It's been talked about, I believe, globally. Yet there are still small businesses that are going the traditional route. So why do you think small businesses are reluctant to digitize their businesses? Is it cost of infrastructure or perhaps a lack of skills?
Great question. In fact, I've worked in this space in the last 3 years, helping small businesses understand digital platforms. And I'd say that the biggest challenge when it comes to digital transformation will be a lack of skills. So we currently do have a direct partnership with Facebook where we train small business owners on how to use Facebook platforms for business. This is the simplest form of digital transformation that you could have, right? Knowing how to use Facebook, knowing how to use Instagram, knowing how to use WhatsApp for business, and effectively and efficiently, actually, and time and again, we see that many people have these platforms, but don't have the adequate knowledge on how to use these platforms for their businesses, right? So it's number one, a lack of skills. And number two, I'd say one of the challenges again is businesses kind of feel overwhelmed. Businesses have grown up, doing business the way they've been taught, by their older people, the generation, and all of those things. And many people are not very interested in trying out new things by themselves. So you need a way to handhold them through certain experiences using digital platforms. And in the last 3 years, working directly with Facebook to help businesses, I think we've trained about 50,000 people across several cities in Nigeria. And time and again, we see that after we've gone through these training programs, we have to create some sort of post-training engagement that then helps them. There's only so much you can teach in about 90 minutes of a class, right? After the training, we realize that we have to create some sort of post-training engagement where we then handhold them for another 6 weeks or thereabouts, where they then start to become confident in using this platform by themselves, right? But I would also say this, for a small business owner, there are three main areas that you would need technology for. The first is communication, either communicating within your team or with your customers. Two is your business operations, improving your operations by using digital platforms or digital, techniques. And then marketing, which is the most important thing at the end of the day. Without you being visible to your potential customers, your business may not succeed. And I think the pandemic made that very clear. Everyone realized absolutely that digital platforms were no longer a luxury, but a necessity. In fact, 2020 made us so busy because we now had to figure out how to continue our trainings in a digital format, and everybody learned about Zoom. Now, I don't think there's any small business owner today who hasn't done a Zoom session or the other, and that's part of digital transformation, realizing that you could talk to potential customers, you could learn in the comfort of your homes and be on calls like this and actually learn. Excuse me. So in reality, those three areas, any small business owner can use very simple tools around them. And in fact, I could list a few of these options. WhatsApp, for instance, is great for communication. We all use WhatsApp. We live on WhatsApp. It's good for communications within the company and also with your customers. It's also a great marketing tool. And anybody who's not realized that they've got to start to use these platforms and improve their business, I don't think it gets simpler than that. So just like Stella was talking earlier, small businesses don't need to be confused about the big tech words. It's what do you need to do and how can you accomplish them using available simple tools around you. So I think I'll just stop there for now, unless you have
Thank you so much.
Questions.
I see that you're tempted to continue. So Lisa, if you could just take over from where he left off. So we're talking, you've actually talked about the advantages of implementing these digital tools that he's talking about. You explained all the advantages. That's what we've been talking about all this time. Yet for the small business that are lagging behind and hopping on board with this digital transformation, how would you advise such entrepreneurs dive into this transformation?
That's a great question. I guess, like as I've sort of mentioned a little bit before. Sorry, my internet even over here in not so sunny London sometimes lags a bit. So please excuse me. I think it's a great question, and I've kind of touched on it a little bit before. But I think
yes,
technology is part of our everyday life, but you also can't take the human element out of technology, because it's the people that are engaging with it that kind of your end user, you need to always be thinking about it. Don't focus on the technology, but rather like how it's a tool to reach the people that you're trying to reach. And I think that's a fantastic place to start. So for instance, if you are thinking about your audience and who you're trying to reach, think about where they are and then meet them where they are. So if you're looking, if you have a sort of a clothing shop in Johannesburg, and you know that most of your customers are, females, if you're then creating a social media platform on Facebook or on Instagram, you can then start to sort of meet your customers where they are, because that's the demographic that is sort of engaging and searching through sort of Facebook or Instagram. And then and think about the platforms that your consumers are on or engaging with the most, and then you can sort of scale it out from there.
Yes, it's targeted. That way it's very targeted and it's going to reach the desired audience. Yes, thank you so much, Lisa. That was profound indeed. So Dr. Stella, Lisa is touching on the targeted ads, and we're talking about actually targeting people on platforms wherein, well, I don't know how to put this, where you touch on a platform where your customers are mostly saturated, basically, where there is a traffic for your customers. But does this apply for businesses that are serving local communities, like a company that serves citywide or provincially? Is this applicable to them?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When we talk about digital transformation or customers, whether they are in the village, like I said, or they're in the local area, you still need to kind of find the technologies that speaks to your customers, that speaks to your market. And for me, it's an absolute yes question. But not all the SMMEs have the luxury of choice here. You know, again, noting their vast nature or how diverse they are and uniquely packed with their unique challenges, such as, you know, your ICT cost that has already been mentioned, your skills, access to markets, etc. Now, let's take an example of my aunt who lives in the village with access to a SASSA card. And those of you who don't know, the SASSA card is the one that government, you know, gives for the most vulnerable to access money. It's like a support system kind of funding. But, you know, she has to travel hours to do shopping in the store in the city, which is like maybe 200 kilometers from the village. Now, that is where most of our challenges are within the ecosystem. So you need to integrate those platforms like your SASSA card, for example, and say, how do I enable the SMMEs to transact with that card to buy tomatoes in the village? Because that SMME is sitting in the village, that micro or the survivalist, if we want to call them, they're sitting right in the village. Why do I have to use my card and go and enrich, and I don't want to use the word capitalism, but go still to the bigger stores, the most enabled ones, to go and actually transact with a card that's meant for the vulnerable. I mean, the reality is technology must be seen as an enabler. Like I said, I can't emphasize that enough. And it's not a nice to have thing, you know. I always have this argument with my aunties in the village to say, I know they will say, why do I pick on them all the time? Why do you want me to buy you an iPhone? You know, when all you're going to do is just use WhatsApp. You know, I can buy you anything cheaper, because with the iPhone is the brand, it's all the apps that you get inside there. Are you going to utilize all of those? It's not about a nice have. And the same applies to the business. And I think even more to the business, because in simpler terms, I will ask, you know, to say, why do you have this type of technology? Why do you need to buy, you know, this type of hardware for your business? You know, you get what I mean? I mean, there are various factors to consider when you deploy the technology. The success of any digitally transformed business is basically to ensure that you can quantify the return on investment. And I think that's the biggest thing for me for SMMEs, is about the return on investment. That's easier said than done, you know, with projects across functional and business boundaries. You know, you change how companies go to the market, and often fundamentally you reshape the interaction of your customers with your employees. You know, such kind of projects, you know, can involve revamping your mobile application, you know, which may have short-term payoffs, or other projects are chasing longer-term business values. So you need to understand where you are. The truth is, we will not all benefit from the Internet of Things while we don't have other things, you know, while we don't have ICT skills. So whether we like it or not, it's like you saying you want to leave, but you don't drink water. So in this ecosystem, when you want to survive, you somehow have to push yourself. And let me tell you an interesting thing, and I'm going to touch on this lastly. SMME owners never see themselves as CEOs of the business. And I always say, remember, if I have to take you and take, let me pick on ShopRite Checkers for a change, or maybe Discovery Bank for those that know the banking sector. Discovery has a more advantage because they have a marketing department, they have an IT department, they have this and this. You literally are overseeing everything. Flap, you are overwhelmed CEO. because you need to scale yourself and you need to also understand the technologies. So if you haven't started, you better start moving, sister or brother, there to make sure that you are part of this ecosystem, because either way, you need to kind of speak the language or understand the language, because you are the master of your business. So I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Yes, think bigger. That's what we're going for. Think bigger as a small business CEO. Yeah. Yes. So before we go any further, before I ask the last question, I'm gonna be opening up the floor for the delegates to ask questions to the panel. So if you do have a question, please start raising up your hands, your virtual hands behind the scenes, and then we'll get to you after Mr. Ayodeji gives me just some clarity over here. So Mr. Ayodeji, what are the common mistakes that you've noticed small business owners making when using digital marketing platforms? Because we still have people that are going to tell you that I've used these digital marketing platforms, they don't work for me.
And it doesn't work.
So many people that have success rates. So what are the mistakes that they make?
Yeah, I think number one, it starts from the misconceptions. You know, there's a misconception that once you get on social media, customers are going to just start pouring in, you know, in their droves and in their numbers, you know, without stop, you know. So, and then when they get on and then nobody gives a care about who they are, then they say it's not working, right? In reality, social media platforms are similar to the everyday physical markets that we have. You know, in the physical market, you take your goods and go to the market and the customer comes to you. On social media, the customers are already there and you have to go there and show them your market, right? You have to tell them what you do, show some visibility of your products. The misconception here is that small business owners don't realize that there's a customer journey. No matter what it is that you sell, there's a customer journey, and it's in three stages. First, people get to know you, then they get to like you, and then they get to trust you. Until they trust you, they're not going to give you their money. It's as simple as that. Think about the smallest transaction that you have done, even if it's to buy biscuits or sweets. It's because you trust that this person is selling the right thing, because you trust that you're not being cheated, and that's why you give your money over. Until your business is able to achieve some level of trust, people are not going to give you their money. So when you get on social media, one of the most important things that small businesses must do is to create content that makes them visible. Without doing this, no matter how much money you spend on advertising, people have to go through that customer journey, right? So if there's not enough content on your pages, for instance, that can move me from knowing to liking to trusting you, you're only advertising in vain, right? So these are some of the fundamental things that, you know, we teach to make small businesses understand that even when you're in the physical market, when customers come around, there's a way you interact with them to make them like you so that they can trust you and they can always come back to buy from you. You're not doing anything different on social media. On social media, the difference is you're creating content and showing up every single day and putting out there so that people can see your content and be able to arrive at that trust. Okay. If that is the only thing that you do every single day, how do I create content that can help people trust me? Examples are, for instance, do you have testimonials of people who have done business with you in the past? Get those testimonials and put them up. Show people behind the scenes of how you do what you do. Use your Instagram stories, Facebook stories, those platforms where the content only lasts for 24 hours. And again, I like to say here, small businesses have a problem. They create so much content, but they don't post any of it because they don't feel it's good enough. And then they turn around and complain that nobody see me. Hello, you're not visible, right? And usually the challenge why they don't post is they feel that the content is not good enough. You know, the solution to that basically is to use those 24-hour channels, WhatsApp status, Facebook stories, Instagram stories. The content you put there will last only 24 hours. So therefore, it doesn't need to be perfect. But however, it gets you visibility, and visibility is about people knowing you, and then maybe they start to like you, and then maybe they start to trust you, and then it starts to improve your bottom lines. All right, so these little things, I mean, they actually change the trajectory of your business if you're able to commit to them. As simple as knowing how to use these platforms every single day, showing people behind the scenes, showing people how you work, showing people how trusted you are, and you definitely start to utilize the digital transformation we're talking about. I hope that answers your question.
You definitely answered my question and more. I wish I could just say volume and broadcast this to the whole South Africa, actually globally, because this is something that we actually deal with as a social media marketing company. We have people that want to just go and open a page and start creating ads. And whenever you try to tell such people it's not going to work for you, they're going to think you just want to scam them. So I love this. I love this point. I really want to share this part. Thank you so much to all the panelists.